First story I wanted to talk about is about Francine Fosdick. She is all over the QAnon world. She ran a conference recently, actually. The name of the conference is Patriots Arise, and you would be blown away. It would blow your socks off if you knew who showed up there. None other than the prospective governor of Pennsylvania and the lieutenant governor and a chairman for the Republican Party in Oklahoma, I believe. Like big politicians, well-known politicians. I could be wrong, but I believe that the prospective governor, Doug Mastriano, I think he's currently a senator for Pennsylvania, and he's running for governor. The conference name is Patriots Arise. The organizer is Francine Fosdick. That's her name. This is her on screen if you've never seen her before. I've covered her a few times, but she is deep in the QAnon world. Deep in the QAnon world. So let me reintroduce you to her and show you what some of her ideas are all about. Let's take a look at Francine. This is late March 2021 when this came out. At this point in time, remember, she's QAnon, so she believed that Trump was going to be re-inaugurated as president on March 4th, 2021. Because of this big conspiracy that QAnon subscribes to about how Inauguration Day is actually March 4th and not January 20th. It's nonsense, and I won't get into it now, but this is after her belief was shattered that Donald Trump is going to be reinaugurated. So listen to this.
President Trump said that him and Melania took the vaccine. I can't stress enough that he did not, and she did not. I mean, I have a close contact with him.
By the way, this one right here, the one laughing, this is Kirsten Weldon. She is another incredibly influential QAnon interpreter, I guess. Kind of like a QAnon pastor, but they don't have pastors. They have interpreters. She was a QAnon interpreter until she tragically died from COVID not long ago. I don't remember when it was she died, but yeah, it's really, really sad stuff, man. I don't wish death on anybody. Nobody. What I wish is for her to come back to reality with the rest of us. Sadly, that didn't happen, and her time ran out. So anyway, yeah, another QAnon interpreter sitting here, Francine and Kirsten Weldon, chit-chatting about how ridiculous it is that Donald Trump took the vaccine.
He did not, guys, okay? He's talking about something else. I mean, he's been talking about HCP.
He took a placebo.
Right. Come on, guys. And okay.
They're acting like it's such a ridiculous idea for us to actually believe that Donald Trump got vaccinated. Something else, dude. Really, they live in a different reality.
And okay, placebo. And every single person that faked that they got it and the government was a placebo too. They never got the shot. The jab with, mRNA. Come on, they're not that stupid.
They use mRNA like it's an insult. No, that's just a regular descriptor of what it is. Yes, it's an mRNA vaccine. So anyways, that's Francine Fosdick, and that was her with Kirsten Weldon. She's made a couple of other pretty big, high-profile appearances. She knows Mark Taylor, too, and she's worked with Mark Taylor a few times. If you're unfamiliar with Mark Taylor, he's also known as the firefighter prophet. You guys probably know Jerry Falwell, right? Jerry Falwell from like the 80s and I think the 90s. He created Liberty University, this giga Christian school, blamed 9/11 on the LGBT community, and just, you know who I'm talking about, that guy. Well, this guy, Mark Taylor, had a documentary made about him by the Liberty U film students. The name of the documentary that they made was, I think it was called The Firefighter Prophet, and it was this massive thing where they claimed that he prophesied that Donald Trump was going to be the president in 2016, but he prophesied it in 2012, blah, blah, blah. Mark Taylor is considered to be the basis for the prophecy that Donald Trump was going to be president. He is the basis for the idea that Trump is supposed to be a religious figure. Very high-profile person in the evangelical QAnon Trumpist world. That's who Mark Taylor is, right? So this was Mark Taylor talking to Francine Fosdick. I just want to give you an idea of who this woman is real fast before we get into the main story here. This is Mark Taylor talking to Francine Fosdick on Election Day 2020, November 4th.
Why do you think Trump calls these guys names all the time? Because you're not dealing with humans most of the time. You're dealing with entities. You're dealing with beings. Some of them aren't human, but you're dealing with beings.
Right.
They inhabit a body, you know what I mean? And it's like, this is why he has no problems doing that. You know what I mean? You had a list of pastors out there that was made headlines that was supporting Biden. They were pro-life pastors. We disagree on the pro-life or the pro-choice thing, but we're supporting Biden. Are you kidding me? Let me tell you something. Every Christian, every pastor out there that voted for Joe Biden last night, you have brought a curse upon yourself and your family, your children and your children's children down to the third and fourth generation, and you need to repent. I don't care if you are pro-life. You cannot call yourself a Christian and call yourself a Republican or vote for Biden.
This is so interesting to me. The guy is melding two identities together. He's melding his identity as a Christian and his identity as a Republican. He's melding them into one and finding conflicts. If you aren't Republican, then you aren't Christian. If you aren't Christian, then you aren't Republican. Isn't that something, how that works in his mind, like psychologically, how he's processing this and how he's like viewing this, the angle from which he's viewing the world is absolutely fascinating to me. And to say that you've brought a curse upon your family to the third and fourth generations for voting against Trump, that is something else, man.
You call yourself a Democrat and a Christian, it doesn't matter. If you voted for the dark side, that's what you did. You are implementing the dark agenda, Satan's agenda, the kingdom of darkness. You are not supporting the kingdom of God. And if you cannot see that, if you do not repent, judgment will fall upon you, I believe, and your family and your children's children down to the third and fourth generation.
That's something else, dude. That is something else. The way that they view this, the way that they've melded their identities together, it's absolutely something else. So anyway, the point is that this woman, Francine Fosdick, the woman on the right there, she held a full-blown QAnon conference called Patriots Arise, and she invited Doug Mastriano. He's currently a senator in Pennsylvania, I believe, and he's running for governor of Pennsylvania. She had other people there too, not just Doug Mastriano. We'll get to the others in a minute. Very high-profile people. So I wanted to see kind of what, Doug had to say at this QAnon conference. So let's give this a watch. Late April 2022 just happened. Check out his speech there.
God is really working in our state. I know things are dark. I know it's not going to be easy, but we're going to win on May 17th with your help. And in November, we're going to take our state back. My God will make it so.
May 17th is their primary, so if you're watching me, you're probably not voting in the Republican primary. But if you do vote in the Republican primary rather than the Democratic one, then make sure you vote against this guy, because obviously he's going to QAnon conferences. He's the last person we want in any kind of position of power, anywhere near a position of power. Like I said, unfortunately, the guy's already a senator, but I certainly don't want him that much closer to the governorship.
And in November, we're going to take our state back. My God will make it so. He will.
My God will make it so. Interesting. So he seems to believe that God is going to make him the governor, or at least make him win the primary or whatever else. What happens if he doesn't win the primary? What happens then? Is that still God's doing? Did God not want you to be the governor, if that's the case? Or was it Satan stepping in and foiling God's plans as always? Thank God for the good things, blame Satan, or God's mysterious ways for the bad. That's how it always works. That's their MO.
It's going to be beautiful. Pennsylvania is going to be the freest, most hopeful, most constitutionally based state in the nation. People are going to want to move here, and Maryland as well.
I assume he made that remark about Maryland because there's another politician from Maryland there. I'm not really sure exactly why.
We're going to unleash the potential, the energy and resources God has given us underneath our feet here. It's going to be a place of prosperity and hope. We're going to fuel the New England and Mid-Atlantic states. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And, you know, you think Florida looks good? Amateur hour after we're in charge.
That should tell you something about his plans. Florida is amateur hour compared to what he intends to do to Pennsylvania. In case you are watching this 5 years in the future and don't know, at this immediate moment in time, Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, and he's acting like an emperor, going through and doing all kinds of crazy stuff to Florida, getting vindictive with companies there and yanking their special tax status if they say anything positive about the LGBT community, and a bunch of other stuff. Not good. Absolutely not good. Banned a bunch of math books because they contained critical race theory, whatever that is. Nobody can seem to pin down what critical race theory is. Didn't give us specific examples of what critical race theory was being taught in those math books, but conveniently, the only math books left allowed to be used in the state are published by, who was it? They were published by somebody that Ron DeSantis is affiliated with, or somebody that he has an investment in, or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Of course. I mean, it makes sense that this whole thing played out the way that it did. Ron DeSantis is known for ravaging Florida, destroying the thing that made Florida so desirable in the first place, out of pure spite and vindictiveness, or just because he could. And this guy right now is saying that he intends to do that exact thing in Pennsylvania. He's going to make it look like amateur hour. He may just be saying that to win votes, but you know, I don't want to wait and find out. I think we should believe him when he says that he's going to destroy Pennsylvania the way that DeSantis is destroying Florida. We should believe him and vote against him at all costs. We need to crawl over broken glass to vote against this guy. But the craziness does not end there. The creator of this conference, Francine Fosdick, person we were talking about earlier, she gave him a little present. They're up on stage right now, and they're about to present this thing to Doug Mastriano.
When we were planning this conference, and I'm just thinking about the warfare that you both have gone through, and we thought, wow, Lord, what would be the best gift for them? And we thought of the David's sword, because you've been cutting a lot of heads off.
What, David's sword? Didn't David battle Goliath with a sling? I mean, I'm not trying to get nitpicky here. I'm just saying, wouldn't they want to give him a sling instead of a sword? Whatever.
And so we had inscribed in there, for God and country, because
That's
you have
amazing.
been fighting for our country, and you're fighting for our religious rights in Christ Jesus.
Religious supremacy. Let me correct that for you, Francine. Religious supremacy is what he's fighting for.
We wanted to bless you with that
Wow.
sword of David,
Thank
and
you.
then a bunch of goodies in here too. So it's kind of heavy. Hopefully it won't break. But so we just thank you for being a part of this conference,
Thank you.
being a part of all of our lives, and really making a difference and setting a precedent for Pennsylvania, but not only Pennsylvania, for our country.
Wow.
Thank you, both
Thank
of
you,
you,
guys.
so much.
Thank you.
Amen.
Oh, yeah. Where's Goliath?
Where's Goliath? He used a sling, not a sword. What are you talking about, man? And what's with this guy in the, red, white, and blue shirt and hat? Oh my God, is that not a little over the top? You know, the founders had this thing about flags. This is why it was such a big deal when somebody burned a flag, that it was banned and they were going to put him in jail over it until the case went all the way to the Supreme Court to decide if people had the right to burn a flag or not. You're not even allowed to, like, throw it in the trash or anything else. You're supposed to fold it into a triangle without it letting it ever touch the ground, and then bury it, I believe, after folding it into a triangle. There's a very specific way you're supposed to dispose of a flag. It's supposed to be treated as a sacred object. That's what the Founding Fathers always intended. And there are, like, rules about how you're supposed to treat it, and traditions and stuff, right? I mean, weird. I completely disagree with this glorification and borderline worship of the American flag. I think that's totally unhinged. But the Founding Fathers would be absolutely disgusted to see somebody wearing clothing that has an American flag pattern on it. They would be shocked to see this. They would throw a fit. I'm talking Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, all of them. They would lose their minds to think that people would wear the flag on their shirt like this. You're supposed to treat the flag with respect and never let it touch the ground and all that stuff. That's just one more disconnection from everything. Like, these people claim to be patriots, constitutionalists, and want to get back to the old ways, blah, blah, blah. No, they never wanted that. It's all an act. It's all a show, and it always has been. There are guidelines, not laws over flag display and disposal right. That's what I meant. And there are actually laws related to the flag, though. Or there were. I think the Supreme Court overturned a lot of them and kind of defined where the law, is limited, basically. But yeah, a lot of guidelines, a lot of traditions and things like that. And this guy's just throwing them right out the window. Anyway, let's keep listening.
Oh, yeah. Where's Goliath?
Don't cheer for that. He was killed with a sling, not a sword.
Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Bless you. Wow, how powerful is that? Oh my gosh. Our next.
I wonder if that's a real sword. I'm trying to see the way that he's holding it. It doesn't seem that heavy, right? And I think swords are generally pretty heavy, especially if they're like that. They wouldn't give him a fake sword, would they? Like a plastic sword you find at a carnival or something? Is it sharpened? I'm trying to figure out how, I'm trying to figure out if it's real based on how the reflection is and all that. I don't know. It's probably real. I mean, these people obviously have enough money to put on a conference, so they could probably afford a sword, right? A real sword.
Oh my gosh. Our next governor. Woo!
Thank you, brother. Thank you, sister.
I love you.
Okay, yeah, so that happened. So after showing up at that conference, the Patriots Arise conference, I believe he was at a debate. This was immediately after. Watch this. Again, on the right, this is Doug Mastriano. He's the guy that we were just listening to in his speech or whatever. Listen to what he says at what I think is a debate.
Today, the Philadelphia Inquirer reported you attended a conference last week in Gettysburg hosted by a couple who publicly call themselves prophets of QAnon.
That's Francine Fosdick and her husband, Hank? I forget what his name is, but anyway, she kind of runs a lot of this stuff.
Prophets of QAnon. What can you tell us about that? And do you consider yourself a member of that group? 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's funny how the media likes to paint anyone they disagree with on the right, on the conservative side, as some kind of extremist.
No, I mean, we just watched you go there to a QAnon conference. These people, I've been following Francine Fosdick for like years now. She is full-blown member of QAnon. I find it super interesting, though, that nobody said anything about extremism. They just said QAnon, and he associates that with extremism. I don't think Francine would appreciate that characterization of her beliefs.
As some kind of extremist. I don't know that those two ever said that. I was there, of course, speaking with many of my...
I don't know that those people ever said that. Are you serious? Does this guy not pay attention to where he goes to speak? I'm very careful about who I go talk with or what shows I go on or any of that stuff. I don't just go anywhere. I always research anything before I shout it out to anybody. I won't take sponsorships if I don't trust the company. I won't go to any conferences unless I trust the people running it. And know, at the very least, know who's running it. like know the board, know their beliefs and ideas on things. I need to know what they're all about. And I'm just some tiny little guy on the corner of the internet, Z-list celebrity over here. This guy is a sitting senator running for governor of Pennsylvania, and he didn't look this stuff up. These people built their platform. They are famous because they are associated with QAnon exclusively. They are QAnon interpreters and have been spreading the message of QAnon exclusively since it started, basically, since its inception. That's what this is all about. And this guy just flew right over his head? Are you kidding me? I don't believe this for 1 second. I don't believe it for a second, Doug.
For speaking with many of my constituents and people from across the state, and it's very unfair. And people across the state are sick and tired of being labeled.
Oh, yeah, you're the victim. Totally, yeah. This is the persecution complex coming out. I'm victimized for going to a QAnon conference. I'm the victim here because you're calling me out for that.
People across the state are sick and tired of being labeled something because you disagree with them politically.
That's not what we're doing, bud. That's not what we're doing. QAnon is an extremist ideology and a full-blown cult. You went to a cult's conference and took gifts from this cult and then excused it away. Like, this is who is running for Pennsylvania governor. I really hope he does not win. Since we're talking about it, why don't we just take a quick glance at the Philadelphia Inquirer article about this whole thing, about Doug Mastriano going to this Q conference. Title of the article is "A Top GOP Candidate for Governor Campaigned at an Event Promoting QAnon and Conspiracy Theories About 9/11." That's the smallest, most insignificant conspiracy that this group of people promotes, in my opinion. There are way worse conspiracies that they spread. But okay, if the 9/11 one is the one you chose to go with, sure, I suppose. This is written by Andrew Seidman, I believe, and it's, like I said, it's on Inquirer.com. It's the Philadelphia Inquirer, so let's read a little bit of it. When candidates for public office indulge in conspiracy theories like QAnon, it's often a wink and a nod. But just weeks before Pennsylvania's May 17th primary election, such ideas are being promoted in plain sight. And high-profile Republican candidates for statewide office are treating talk of a global satanic blood cult like regular campaigning. Absolutely. Which honestly is exactly what we just listened to him do. He said anybody that you disagree with on the right, you call him an extremist. Exactly what the Philadelphia Inquirer said in their article right here. High-profile Republican candidates for statewide office, they're treating talk of a global satanic blood cult like regular campaigning. It's exactly what he did. Last week in Gettysburg, a far-right Christian conference called Patriots Arise for God and Country drew State Senator Doug Mastriano, a GOP frontrunner for Pennsylvania governor, Teddy Daniels, a candidate for lieutenant governor, Maryland gubernatorial candidate Dan Cox, Liz Harrington, a spokesperson for former President Donald Trump, and former Trump campaign attorney Jenna Ellis. Wow, that is quite the lineup. Yeah, since they mentioned the lieutenant governor, Teddy Daniels, who he's running for, I actually have a little clip from Teddy Daniels, too. So why don't we just watch that real fast before continuing? Check this one out. Teddy Daniels speaking at the Patriots Arise conference.
People are saying they want civility in politics. Well, are they civil with us?
Yes. I have no interest in physically hurting you, and I don't ever talk about physically hurting you. I heavily discourage that kind of rhetoric. I don't lie about you. I don't mistreat you. I don't attack you over contrived, ridiculous things. That's not who I am. That's not what I do. And in my opinion, I consider myself to be one of the more civil people in the movement. This is how civility works. I attack your ideas. I don't attack you. That's what civility is. So yeah, I am civil with you, yes.
Then why don't we need to be civil with them? Okay? Folks, in case you haven't noticed, the world is burning. Okay? We are at war.
What does a lack of civility accomplish for you? Whether the world is burning or not, what does it accomplish to attack and slander people? How does it help your movement or your cause to lie about people and hurt them and make fun of them for this thing or that thing or whatever else. How does that help you? How does that help stop the world from burning? It doesn't. It just makes you a less moral person, in my opinion. That's all it accomplishes. And it coarsens the discourse and brings us closer to a point in time where there may actually be violence.
In this country, we are losing this country. This is not the time to dance around the campfire in our tippy toes and sing Kumbaya. So, they all hate me.
I don't hate you. I just want you to stop being an extremist. That's it. In case you haven't picked up on it, what he's basically saying is he has no intentions of or interest in working with anybody from the other side of the aisle. He has no interest in bargaining or trying to make things better or making deals or any of that stuff. So what does he want to do? What is he interested in?
Folks, let me tell you, I'm about civility too. Like right now, we're civil with Japan. We're civil with Germany.
No, we're friends with those people. That's very different. We aren't civil with those. Like, he has a totally different definition of civil, I think, than I do.
We're civil with a lot of nations. How'd we get there? How'd we get there? We beat the crap out of them. That's how we got there.
Oh, so all he understands is violence and domination and supremacy. That's what he understands. That's how he thinks the world works. And that's why he doesn't want civility, because he wants to dominate and loom over everybody. He wants to control everything and everybody. That seems pretty clear to me at this point.
We will be civil on our terms, not theirs.
Yeah, so he went there too. Teddy Daniels. Let's keep reading this article. About 25 minutes into the two-day conference, organizers played a video claiming the world is experiencing a great awakening. Yeah, that's a straight call to QAnon right there. I mean, those are words that QAnon even has a book called The Great Awakening, I believe. In fact, I have a copy of it. The world is experiencing a great awakening that will expose ritual and a global satanic blood cult. Followers of QAnon believe a global cabal of Democrats and elites are trafficking for and engaged in other demonic activity, but that all of this will soon be exposed. Images associated with the conspiracy theory were on display during the January 6th Capitol attack. That's what the whole conference was about. It was run by people who believe this, who built their brand off of the idea that this is all real. That's who we're dealing with. So the fact that Doug Mastriano and even Teddy Daniels and those aren't the only ones. This guy too, he was the chair of the Republican Party in Oklahoma. He had some horrific stuff to say too. The fact that they went to this conference in the first place and then tried to excuse it away by saying you can't call people that you disagree with extremists. That's disturbing stuff, man. If you think I'm wrong, tweet it at me. If you disagree with me, if you think that it's okay for them to go to these conferences just to spread their word or just to get their name out there, even if they don't fully agree with the people, if you think it would be okay for them to go there anyways, tweet it at me. I want to know. All that jazz. Pete Buttigieg used to go on Fox News a lot because he believed in meeting conservative voters where they are, but even he wouldn't go to a QAnon rally. Yeah, I'm all for meeting them where they are. If you were going to a QAnon rally to debate or to even to talk to them and tell them, I don't agree with you, but I still want your vote or whatever, I'd be okay with that if he ever said, I don't agree with you. He didn't. He never even hinted at that. He went there presenting himself as though he did agree with them and what they believe and what they're doing and supported them. If you think it would be okay for them to go there anyways, tweet it at me. I want to know.